In many cases, the reason the star gathers the spotlight is because of that special teammate who is willing to sacrifice the personal gain of his own as the other basked in the glory. That certainly is part of the story as the countdown of the Oakland A's top 50 players continues at number 40 with outfielder Dwayne Murphy. Born in Merced, Murphy was a 15th-round pick of the A's from high school in Lancaster, turning down a football scholarship at Arizona State to begin his pro career. 10 of his 12 years of the majors were with the Athletics, posting a pedestrian .246 batting average, but a more than respectable .356 on base. What made Dwayne so special was the idea that Rickey Henderson would be the band leader and Murph would gladly come along for the ride. Murphy batted second the majority of his time with the A's, as Rickey was the most dangerous leadoff man in baseball. 493 of Henderson's MLB best 1,406 stolen bases came with Murphy by his side. Dwayne discussed that relationship and his understanding of the importance of his place in the lineup and what that meant for the man of steel.
We had a good relationship. Ricky used to tell me to swing a lot, but there was reasons why I let him steal because it had benefited myself. And but we had a good relationship off the field. Ricky's probably one of the greatest players I ever seen play.
While Murphy certainly allowed Rickey the offensive spotlight, Murphy more than made a name for himself with the glove. From 1980 to 85, Dwayne captured 6 Gold Gloves, and while teamed with Rickey in left and Tony Armas in right, formed arguably the best defensive outfield in the league, something that Murph gets great pride from.
Well, it was basically 3 center fielders that loved to go get the ball. Fortunately, I was the center fielder, and I was a ball hawk, and I got to call those guys off. And I mean, we used to have so much fun. The whole thing was protecting our pitchers, giving our pitchers the confidence that we're going to catch the balls that are hit out there. And I think it made those guys pitch better. And I think when you sit there and play good defense behind guys, their confidence to throw strikes and their confidence to pitch elevates. So you're talking about 3 guys that put their heart into it, worked hard all the time, helped each other all the time, and we're proud to be the guys that say we're going to take every ball that we can get, and I tell you what, it paid off.
No player at any position won more American League Gold Gloves in the 1980s than Dwayne Murphy. In fact, only Keith Hernandez, Ryne Sandberg, and Ozzie Smith exceeded Dwayne's decade total. Murphy had 2 especially productive years with the bat, driving in 94 in 1982 and blasting 33 home runs in the 84 campaign. In his 1 playoff season with the A's, 1981, he went 6 for 11 with a game-1 home run off of Royals pitcher Dennis Leonard in the ALDS. Unselfish at the plate and dynamic with the glove, at number 40 on the top 50 Oakland countdown is outfielder Dwayne Murphy. In a pitching career that featured teammates like Ferguson Jenkins, Catfish Hunter, Vida Blue, and Jim Palmer, our next entrant on the Oakland A's top 50 list still managed to etch out a stellar career. In at number 39 is left-handed pitcher Ken Holtzman. Holtzman's resume already boasted 2 no-hitters and 80 wins on the north side of Chicago with the Cubs. He reached the majors at age 19 and pitched over 220 innings at age 20. But Ken more than made his mark in his 4 seasons with the green and gold. In fact, even with the star-studded rotation of the early 70s A's, Holtzman owns the distinction of starting Game 1 of the World Series for the A's 3-year run of excellence in 72, 73, and 74. Holtzman joined the A's prior to the 72 season in a deal from the Cubs, sending outfielder Rick Monday to Chicago, and in his 4 seasons with the A's, he averaged 270 innings pitched and 19 wins per year. He was a 2-time American League All-Star with the A's and completed 54 games for the Athletics. He started games 1, 4, and 7 in Oakland's first ever World Series as the A's toppled the Reds, and he always felt Dick Williams was the right man to manage the A's.
I thought Dick was just an ultimate competitor. He'd cut your throat to win. I thought that from a pitcher standpoint, I felt that he let Catfish and Vite and I kind of alone, along with you. Never called the game so much. Might have called 1 pitch now and then, pitch out. But he let us have our own way, just pitch your own game. get the ball over the plate, and I really liked that. I mean, he kind of put the game in our hands. I also like the fact that that was the first year of the DH, so we threw a lot of complete games. So in those days, obviously different from today, we were in there from start to finish. And actually, I felt that helped us toward the end of the season. I felt that by pitching a lot of complete games, I think I pitched close to 300 innings that year. But when it came into September and October, into the postseason, I had my best stuff. And if you'll remember the playoff game against Baltimore, I thought that I was fresh there and as I was in April. And I think pitching all those innings helped me.
The following postseason, after a 21-win campaign and 297 innings, Holtzman pitched arguably the greatest postseason game in Oakland history, going the distance, beating Baltimore in an 11-inning, 2-1 thriller to win Game 3 of the ALCS. Back to the World Series in 1974, and again, Holtzman led the charge against the Dodgers. In fact, he scored on a squeeze bunt from Bert Campaneris in Game 1 and delivered this in Game 4.
That ball's hit well. It is carrying, and there she goes. Well, he had a double last year in the series, a double against on Saturday, and now a home run tonight. Is what the players call it here in Oakland. The players call home runs dingers now.
In all, 77 of his 174 career wins came with Oakland. 6 days before the 1976 opener, he and Reggie Jackson were traded to the Baltimore Orioles, ending his tenure in Oakland. But 6 postseason wins, including 4 and 3 World Series, are part of the reason he deserves placement on this list. At number 39, Kenny Holtzman. Throughout the 5 decades of Oakland baseball, few players have captured the imagination of the fan base with unbridled enthusiasm quite like the latest member of the Oakland Top 50 list. In at number 38, outfielder first baseman Nick Swisher. Swisher spent 4 of his 12-year Major League career with the Athletics. He was part of the famous 2002 amateur draft that spawned the movie Moneyball as the A's top pick from Ohio State. As the son of a former Major League catcher Steve Swisher, Nick had the ability to rise quickly through the A's system. Less than 200 minor league games would be all Nick would need before establishing himself with a 21-homer campaign in 2005. His infectious smile and bubbling personality meshed well with his all-out style in the outfield and at first base. A great fit to begin his career in the green and gold.
Oh, I guess just being the right place, the right time, man. I think for me it was the right place, and Billy Beane saw something in me, so to be able to be part of it, and to be able to be a switch hitter leading this organization, like that's pretty cool. I never even thought about that. But now I think about that, man, it's a proud feeling. And for myself, man, this green and gold, it's always going to mean something to me. And just to be able to be back with all these great players, man, it's like it's an honor for all of us, no doubt.
A switch hitter, an early magical moment came on June 26, 2005 against the San Francisco Giants.
1-0 pitch. Swung on, driven left field the other way. Alou going back at the track, right down the line, gone! Nick Swisher goes the other way, inside the foul pole, right over the 330 mark down the left field line. And now the rout is really on. 9-0 Athletics.
Swung on, a long drive, left center field, gone for a home run. 2 pitches after being knocked into the dirt, Nick Swisher hammers one over the wall in left center. And the A's have 2 more. He has 2 round trippers in the last 2 innings.
Swisher's athleticism wasn't confined to both sides of the batter's box. He was also an adept defender at first base. He started 80 games at first and 7 in the outfield in his most productive campaign of 2006, when he connected for 35 home runs, including this unusual clout on June 11th in New York.
Here comes the pitch. Fastball set in the air to left center. Gliding back is Damon, still going back over his head, reaches out and it collides with Cabrera on the track, and the ball is free on the track. Swisher's the third base, and they're going to wave him home. He's coming around third. The relay by Cairo is going to be not in time. And inside the park, home run for Nick Swisher.
He drove in a run in the 3rd game of the 06 ALDS versus Minnesota, helping the A's complete the sweep of that series. Swisher would go on to play for 4 other teams and amass 245 career home runs. But his start and the A's penchant for uncovering a new market efficiency began with number 38 on the A's top 50 list, Nick Swisher. Any list that includes 50 of anything will treat you to the reminder that success can come in all shapes and sizes. And while there are feats of greatness and even moments to shine, those who worked hard in the shadows of greatness have their place too. As is the case with number 37 on the Oakland all-time 50 list, infielder Mike Gallego. It was never about the size of the dog in the fight with Gallego, but rather the size of the fight in the dog. His steadiness at second base and shortstop propelled the Athletics to prominence in the late 80s and early 90s. Sure, there was McGuire and Canseco and Stu and Eck and others, but Gallego forged his path with consistency and the willingness to perform the jobs that contribute to success. Gallego explains the nature of those teams and his place on those clubs.
Well, Tony was, obviously a master at dealing with his players daily. He found a way to touch each and every one of us, or say something to each and every one of us every single day. Not just our big boys, not just our starting lineup, but the role players, the bullpen guys. He made them feel important and part of this club. We've all felt that we had a role. He dealt with every one of us separately, differently. One of his ways with me was to make sure that he knew I was angry every day coming to the ballpark because I wasn't in the lineup. And he would ask me that, are you mad? I go, yeah. He goes, good. You play better that way. So I go, am I playing? He goes, no, you're not playing. Be ready in the ninth. He let us know what our roles were, and he let us police ourselves, and he definitely made sure that we were prepared every single day.
He averaged 144 games a season moving around the infield for those Tony La Russa teams. In 1990, he led the American League with 17 sacrifice hits. Even with the power of McGuire, Canseco, Dave Henderson, and others, Gallego had his role too and proved that La Russa could count on him to deliver. Yes, the career batting average is only .239, but he appeared in 19 postseason games for the A's, and his biggest offensive contribution came in Game 4 of the 1990 ALCS against the Boston Red Sox.
And the pitch. Swung on, cracked high and deep to center. Burks has got a long run. He's not going to get there. It bounces up the center field wall. One run is in. Randolph is all the way around from first to score. And the A's lead by a score of 3-0. And the smallest of the Athletics hits the biggest shot of the inning. Mike Gallego on a 3-1 pitch.
Well, if you're concerned about what a new pitcher can do to a ball club, changing, shifting gears, I think Gallego just set everybody's mind at ease. He got a fastball that he could handle, and so many times we have seen the outfield play shallow with Gallego to the plate. This one hit the warning track in center field.
A man who knew his role, never afraid of the term utility player, and willing to do what was necessary to win. With 772 games played and 3 consecutive seasons of October baseball with the Athletics, he finds his way on the all-time top 50 list at number 37, infielder Mike Gallego. As the countdown marches on, the player is the only Athletic on the list who was drafted as a position player but starred on the mound. In at number 36, left-handed reliever Sean Doolittle. Doolittle and the A's have had a long-standing relationship. While he went to high school in New Jersey and on to the University of Virginia, where he was the first-round pick in 2007 by the A's, his early years in an Air Force family included time in Northern California wearing A's gear with his brother Ryan, who too would be drafted by Oakland. From great memories there to the top 50 list for Sean.
It's really cool. It's a really special honor. The A's were the first baseball team I ever watched growing up. We had a season ticket package when I was a kid, and when we used to make the drive from the Valley over to Oakland, and as if it wasn't enough to get drafted by them and break into the big leagues with them, to be selected to that team by the fans is it's a really big honor. It's tough to put into words because it's not all about the stats and what's on the back of my baseball card. I had a connection with the fans, and for them to vote me onto this team is really special.
Doolittle had a smooth glove at first base and a power bat to boot, blasting 30 home runs in one minor league season in 2008. But a knee injury pushed him away from first and back to the mound, where he performed in college. He made a meteoric rise through the A's system, converting to the mound. In just 16 games and 25 innings pitching in the minors, Doolittle reached the majors on June 4th, 2012, carrying 3 Texas hitters in an inning and a third. Quite a journey for Sean Doolittle.
I took the scenic route, that's for sure. It was a frustrating few years there with dealing with the injuries, and then when I transitioned to pitching, I had no idea what to expect. I had no timeline for it. You know, I was just so excited to be off of the training table and on a team and not on the disabled list. And the 2012 year is still a blur, you know, starting in A-ball and being called up to Oakland by June. It's just an incredible journey, and it's something that I think has given me a lot of perspective in my career, and I definitely don't take a single day for granted, that's for sure.
A memorable first save in the majors came against the Yankees at the Coliseum on July 21st of that year.
And the 3-2 on the way, swung on and missed. It was a fastball by him. It's the first major league save for Doolittle. He does it with a flourish. He strikes out the side.
A workhorse down the stretch of that memorable 2012 season, Doolittle appeared in 16 games in the final month, including the finale against Texas.
And Doolittle throws to Hamilton. Swung on and missed. He strikes him out with a fastball on the outside corner at 96. And Doolittle blazes his way through the top of the 8th inning here at the Coliseum.
2 years later, Doolittle will be one of 7 All-Stars representing the Athletics at the All-Star Game. He was an All-Star off the field as well, supporting several veterans group charities and a strong voice for the LGBT community as one of the A's most popular stars and Roberto Clemente nominee. 6 years with the A's before midseason 2017 trade, plus 3 postseasons as well, riding the power of an exploding fastball, got this southpaw on the all-time top 50 list. At 36, left-handed reliever Sean Doolittle. It's a you remember where you were moment. September 4th, 2002. Forever etched in Oakland baseball history. The next man on Oakland's top 50 list was part of the movie making history.
We want you to play first base for the Oakland A's.
Okay, well, I've only ever played catcher.
Scott, you're not a catcher anymore. If you were, our call wouldn't have been the only one you got when your contract expired.
Yeah, hey, listen, no, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
But the thing is,
you don't know how to play first base. Scott?
That's right.
It's not that hard, Scott. Tell him, Wash.
It's incredibly hard.
Hey, anything worth doing is, and we're going to teach you.
Oh, it may not exactly have happened like that. January 2nd, 2002, when he signed a free agent contract with the A's, but in at number 35 is first baseman Scott Hatteberg. Hatteberg spent parts of 7 seasons with the Boston Red Sox, the team that made him a first-round pick in 1991 before the A's came calling prior to 2002. From August 13th to September 4th of 2002, Oakland captured the imagination of all baseball with their march toward history. It's something Hatteberg recalls in conversation with another teammate.
And I remember Dave Justice, we started it was a long road trip. I can't even remember how long. It might have been 10 days. You can't sweep a road trip if you don't win the first game. And he said it, you win, we're superstitious. He says it again and again and again. Next thing you know, we swept this long road trip and headed back home. And you didn't think anything other than that we were just playing really good ball. But it was once you got 13, 14, people started bringing signs, homemade, and they were, more and more with each win that it took on some real momentum. You knew you were in some special times, and that's when I felt, not pressure, but that we were doing something special.
Of course, to make history, you need drama, none of which existed on that September 9th, building an 11-0 lead with Tim Hudson pitching. But then, suddenly in the 9th inning, KC tied the game at 11 for Hatteberg's moment in time.
Growing up there, hitting a home run was the absolute furthest thing from my mind. I really wanted to get a ball up, because it's so hard not to hit this ball in the dirt or just hit it in the ground. See it up, maybe hit a double, get a guy in scoring position. And man, I got in a good count. He left the ball up, and I just elevated it more than I was expecting. I don't think I've ever hit a ball in the air that well off of that guy. And shoot, it went out, man. Special times.
Now the pitch. Swung on. There's a high drive. Hit way back. Toward center field. That one is gone. And it's 20 consecutive victories for the Oakland Athletics on an unbelievable night when they lost an 11-0 lead. And now they win it. Hatteberg is bobbed at home plate. Crazy. Just plain crazy.
As it turns out, during that 20-game winning streak for the Athletics, that would be the only home run that Hatteberg would hit during that stretch. At number 35 on Oakland's top 50 list is first baseman Scott Hatteberg. In today's game, the ability to play multiple positions on the diamond has created a new dynamic for rosters around baseball. You can make the case that this type of player found its beginnings with the Oakland A's of the 1980s. And that first super utility player is number 34 on our top 50 countdown, Tony Phillips.
Swung on. There's a drive to right center field. It's a base hit. Cotroneo is going to score. The ball's going on through. Cotroneo is in. It's tied. Here comes Javier to the plate. And the A's win the ball game on a Tony Phillips double by a score of 5-4.
Tony was a first-round pick of Montreal back in 1978. From there, he was off to San Diego before being acquired by the A's in 1981 and making his Major League debut the following season. Half of his 18-year Major League career would be spent with the Athletics. And because the A's recognized his skill set, it gave him longevity.
That's the reason I played so long, because I wasn't good at one position for a long time. That's when I became successful, when I moved around, and I owe that to Tony La Russa. You know, I could play the outfield, I could play the infield, so therefore they can carry another pitcher. They didn't have to carry an extra outfielder, so that made my value go up, and without that, I'd have been 5 or 6 years at the big leagues.
On May 16th, 1986, Phillips became the first Oakland A to accomplish a unique personal feat.
Fly ball to right center field. Jim Dwyer on the move, and he can't come up with it. It'll roll all the way to the wall, but Griffin will score. Phillips is on his way to third. Let's see how they score that one. If it's a triple, it'll give him the cycle. Have to think it is. Dwyer ever got to the ball. That's a 3-base hit for Tony Phillips, and he has just hit for the cycle. He is 5 for 5. He has a single, in fact 2 of them, a double, a triple, and a home run. What a night he's had, and 4 RBIs.
Phillips' talents continue to spark the A's as they embarked on their 3-year run of postseason excellence. Looking back on the World Series winning year of 1989 for Phillips, started well before opening day.
I remember the year before, Oral Hershiser struck me out for the last out. I saw that all winter, and to come back and have the last put out of the World Series is kind of like a redemption. So, you know, that last out, you know, it was a great year, you know. Gosh, with the players we had, you could name them all. It was a great clubhouse. There were a bunch of professionals, guys that called each other up on their boo-boo, and when guys wasn't pulling their weight, we let guys know that. And that there is what I try to teach these kids. You know, it's not a bad thing to call your teammate out. That's being a good teammate.
For a feisty, sometimes high-strung player, Tony Phillips received the greatest gift any ball player dreamed of, with a chance to close out the World Series.
Swung on, bounce, off McGuire's glove. Phillips has it, throws to Eckersley in time, and the A's have won the World Series in a sweep.
Gone too soon at age 56, but forever remembered by the Athletics. Number 34 on the countdown, super utility player Tony Phillips. Front office executives of every major league team constantly comb the rosters of their opposition from the very top to the lowest rungs of the minors. It's a scavenger hunt to improve their own organization in the ever-changing world of baseball. In the case of our countdown's next electee, the A's struck gold with number 33 on the list, Stephen Vogt. That simple transaction that altered the career of Vogt happened on April 6, 2012, when the A's bought Vogt from Tampa Bay. At that point, he had some decent minor league seasons, but an 0 for 25 ledger in the majors. And that changed with one swing on June 28, 2013 versus St. Louis at the Coliseum.
Fastball pulled to deep right field, back toward the wall, and goodbye! Stephen Vogt's first big league hit is a home run. The pressure valve has been released.
Well, it was 33rd time's a charm, 33rd at bat. Decided that, maybe this is one of those things that it's just never going to happen. But sitting there with an 0-2 count, kind of stepped out of the box and said, hey, you know what? It can't get any worse. What's the worst that happens? Just relax, see the ball, and see what you can do. Unfortunately, he threw me a fastball right down the middle. Hit a home run there in the Coliseum, and don't really remember anything between first and third base. Kind of like just this moment of sheer just happiness and joy and kind of surprise. But, my Oakland A's teammates and family just kind of embraced me right away, and really felt welcome from day one in Oakland.
Vogt's playing time and importance in Bob Melvin's lineup grew as the A's marched toward another AL West crown that year. He started all 5 games of their ALDS series versus Detroit. But, of course, Game 2 is pivotal in so many ways.
To be catching Sonny in that kind of stage, we came up through AAA that whole year together. We're up the second half of the year together. And, he was going toe-to-toe with the best pitcher in baseball at the time, Justin Verlander. And to have a rookie who's got 2 months of time go toe-for-toe, inning by inning with him was huge. And there was a few moments in that game that were bigger than the walk-off hit for me, and that was, catching it. The knock on me had always been catching. And so for me to be starting in a playoff game, had a big strike him out, throw him out to end the 5th inning.
Runner goes, a 3-2, swung on a miss, throw by Vogt, tag by Sogard, double play! Iglesias was running, and he's nailed by Stephen Vogt. 2-4 on the play at second base.
That was probably the biggest moment for me, and then the walk-off hit obviously was very special. And to watch the 50,000 fans at the Coliseum go nuts, that was awesome.
And it swung on, line to left, base hit, and the A's have won it! Cespedes scores from third, a line drive, base hit to left by Stephen Vogt, and the A's have even the series.
Vogt played 5 seasons for the A's and garnered back-to-back All-Star Game selections in 2015 and 16. And without question, a fan favorite.
It was pretty incredible how the fans kind of just adopted me right away. I had my first stint in Oakland in 13, and when I came back in 14, played some right field. No offense to any other fan base out there, but the right field bleacher fans in Oakland are the best, and the left field bleacher fans are probably the second best in baseball. So they're just 2 great groups of fans. They get behind you, and they started the I Believe in Stephen Vogt chant when I was playing right field, and it just kind of stuck. And for almost 3 full years, every at-bat I had in the Coliseum, people were chanting I Believe in Stephen Vogt. And even on the road, A's fans would show up, they'd be chanting it, and so I'm very thankful for the way that started, and it's been pretty cool.
In at number 33, Stephen Vogt. One thing is certain about the A's top 50 group. It is pitching rich with 16 hurlers on the list, and number 32 is no different with Sonny Gray. Gray was always undersized in stature, but never in performance. A 2-time high school state football champion as quarterback in Tennessee, top starter at Vanderbilt University, and the A's top pick in the 2011 draft. As it turns out, even in the volunteer state, Gray had green and gold knowledge.
I heard a lot about the organization. What comes to the forefront of that was the great pitchers that they've always had there. They were going to bring out the best in you as a person and as a pitcher, and to be in any type of list when you're talking about pitching in Oakland is a really big, accomplishment and a big honor. So I loved my time there.
Only 55 minor league starts and 303 innings were Sonny's development before his major league debut on July 10th, 2013 in Pittsburgh. Here's some interesting backstory from Sonny about that night.
And in Oakland, they always did riddles. Everybody did riddles. They started doing a riddle, and they had just called down and said, hey, get Sonny ready, he's going in. But, me, I was more interested in that riddle. I'm sitting there warming up in between innings, and I'm about to go make my big league debut, and, everyone's like, I don't know how this is going to go for this kid or whatever, but I'm on the bullpen mound, and no one really wanted to talk to me or do anything. And I looked back at all the bullpen guys. I was like, hey, tell me the riddle. What's the riddle? I'm trying to figure this thing out.
And Sonny's pitch is a fly ball right field. Going back on it is Chris Young. He's midway on the track. He's there, and he makes the catch. And Sonny Gray with a 1-2-3 major league debut with 2 strikeouts.
Fast forward to the postseason and the A's second consecutive ALDS against Detroit. And Sonny, after 12 games and 5 wins, was thrust into Game 2.
2-2 pitch, swing! And a miss up and away by Octane at 96 from Sonny Gray. And that finishes off Torrey Hunter. I think Sonny Gray won the battle of intimidation with Torrey Hunter.
Here it is, and it swung on.
Line to left, base hit, and the A's have won it! Cespedes scores from third, a line drive, base hit to left by Stephen Vogt, and the A's have even the series.
For me, it was is the first moment in the big leagues where it's been like, wow, this is a pretty special, it's a really, really awesome place to play and to be, but at the same time, this is kind of what I want to do and where I want to be. And 4 or 5 days later, I sat down in Bo Mail's office and he told me I was throwing Game 5, and fortunately we lost, but it was, I think when the organization puts that much confidence in you at such an early age, they kind of make it a lot easier for you to go out there and just kind of do your thing.
The A's relied on Gray at the end of the 2014 season. Even with the acquisitions of John Lester and Jeff Samardzija, it was Gray's complete game shutout on the season's final day in Texas that saved the team and got them to the postseason for the 3rd straight year.
Here it is, and it's swung on a high drive left center field. Full going back. He's to the track, and he's right to the wall. He's there. He squeezes it, and the A's have won it. 3 consecutive years in the postseason for the Oakland A's. Behind a sensational pitching performance, a 6-hit shutout by Sonny Gray.
In at number 32, pitcher Sonny Gray. Baseball is all about streaks. Winning streaks and losing streaks, hitting streaks, and much more. How about keeping a streak alive for 3 consecutive seasons? That's where our next electee onto the Oakland A's top 50 comes in. At number 31, shortstop Walt Weiss. Weiss was highly touted out of the University of North Carolina when the A's made him their top pick, 11th overall, in 1985. 2 seasons later, a 16-game September audition, which included a 4-for-4 game against the Indians, that convinced the Athletics to trade veteran Alfredo Griffin and hand Weiss the job the following year. As the A's were getting better, success came from inside the system, with 1986 Rookie of the Year Jose Canseco, and again in '87 with Mark McGwire. Could Weiss keep that streak alive?
And the pitch. There's a line drive. Diving, brilliant stop. Weiss throws to second, double play. What a great play by Weiss. Backhanded diving just above the ground and turns it into a 6-4 double play, and the inning is over. Holy Toledo, the play of the trip.
Weiss was smart enough to see the talent around him in green and gold and didn't want to mess up the growing mojo.
Breaking in with a lot of salty veterans that taught me how to play the game, I think, the right way, playing for Tony La Russa. Also, I think, shortened the learning curve for me. You know, it was sink or swim. You know, we were a talented club, and I was a rookie at shortstop, and I was expected to perform, and you had to, or you know, I knew I was going to be gone, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. I love being with that group of guys, with this organization at that time. It was a dream come true.
Walt's steady glove was good enough around the power-laden veteran A's to keep the Rookie of the Year streak going, winning the 1988 award as the A's began their run of postseason excellence. It would take another decade for Oakland to win another Rookie of the Year title with Ben Grieve in 1998. While the '88 World Series was a disappointment, the A's returned the following season for the Bay Bridge Series with the Giants, on a team that featured the Bash brothers, Dave Henderson, Dave Parker, and Ricky Henderson. The slick fielding Weiss had one power trick up his sleeve in Game 1 of the World Series against the Giants' Scott Garrelts.
And of all people, Weiss drives one to right field and gone. 3 during the regular season. And La Russa saying one reason he wanted Weiss in the lineup, that extra left-handed bat tonight. And it turns out to be the right choice.
It was Weiss's only home run in 46 postseason games, 25 with Oakland. He was traded prior to the '93 campaign to the Florida Marlins, eventually went to Colorado and Atlanta, where he made one final World Series appearance against the Yankees. His style of play, much different than the 2 previous Rookies of the Year. That didn't faze Weiss, as he did his part to extend the Oakland A's Rookie of the Year string to 3. In at number 31, shortstop Walt Weiss.